Shimelle Laine, and I'm bringing you something a little bit different today. The last video I posted was a sketch to scrapbook page with a single photo, and I have a few other photos that I want in my album, and this is the sort of thing that I would sometimes do to coordinate with that. So basically I'm going to make a pocket page that's going to go next to that single photo page in my album. So the pocket page you're going to see here would be on the left hand side, and the single photo page will be on the right side as you flip through the album. I hope that makes sense. I'm using just the last few remaining bits from my August Best of Both Worlds kit, and that wooden globe card with the heart that you see over there at the left is a match to the flare badge in the layout that's opposite. So I like how that will pull it all together. Now, what I've done already is just really quickly allocated where the photos are going to go and then filled up the empty spaces. And if I do a pocket page, I do tend to work that fast at the beginning. I just work with normally 4x6 prints, sometimes smaller, but normally 4x6, and just decide which order they look nicest in, and once I've put them in the pockets, then I'm not going to move them around. That one in the middle is a 4x6 cut in half so that it can fit in a 3x4 pocket. Then there's a 4x6 card at the top left. The journaling card at the top, in the middle right, is actually a 4x6 card, but I've just cut half of it off. You can see it over there on the right, and put it in the pocket in the middle. So those are the main page elements, and then I start to figure out where I'm going to embellish on top of the photos, and I still try to follow the same sorts of design concepts. So I started with the three little paper clips in a star shape, and I put them in a triangle. Now you're going to see how they're not going to end up in the exact same place that I started with. That's okay. Sometimes that just works out better as things come together. You realize that maybe one place needs a little bit more dressing up and another one is okay on its own. But I start with them in a triangle, and that gives me a visual triangle of the same color and the same shape or motif. And then I go through and add other things that will be similar in a few different places. So I cut the little aqua word strips from a scrap of pattern paper and put 3 of those on the layout, and then started going through the Amy Tangerine sticker book to find different stickers that would match in both the words and the colors, and added those into the same sorts of places. Now, I know that there's a lot of covering up of that middle photo that I'm working on just now with the 3 big stickers to the right hand side. The reason that didn't bother me is because I have a better version of that view. The photo is of the view where we would sit with where all those other pictures are. So all the photos are taken from the exact same spot, and I've just moved the camera around what I'm looking at on the table to my right, to my left, that sort of thing. I have a really lovely shot of that I've included elsewhere on a different layout, and I have this one that's not quite as nice, but is the true view from the table when we would sit at this cafe. Then the bottom left is the menu, and the other is the street that where you could see where we would sit. So the restaurant's on the left of the road, and then you would sit on the right, and the river's over there to the right, off the edge of the right of the photo. And so the reason I didn't mind putting lots of stuff over the top of that photo in the middle is because there's a nice big version that's a better quality photo elsewhere in my album, and it's only a page or 2 away in the album. But I still liked the idea of including exactly what the view looked like as we sat at the table. So I hope that makes sense. So sometimes it may seem that when you look at examples, maybe there's something covered up that you wouldn't cover up, but that might be why, because you're seeing a single page at a time and not the whole album. You can also start to see why I don't tend to do my videos in quite this direction. I know it's a little distorted as you see the visual there, and also I don't tend to do voiceovers, but at the beginning of the year I gave myself a challenge to just turn the camera on and go ahead and craft as I normally do. So I'm actually making this page right side up, and the funny thing is that's a little harder than it might seem now that I'm in such a habit of doing my pages upside down. Okay, so I went back to those same few spots where I added the stickers, and now that star clip that was at the top left has moved over to the top right to go in that little group. And I wanted to add in some more texture, so I've added yellow baker's twine and some enamel dots. So now the embellishment's not exactly a triangle because there's two stars right over there on the side. It's still a triangle, but a very different shape of one. But there's enough embellishment over there to the left that I still felt like that was all fine. I did think that maybe needed to be a little bit more here and there to kind of tie it all together. I thought at first that maybe I would leave the bottom right photo and the other half of the photo that's cut apart. Maybe I'd leave them as they were, just without anything on top. But the more I looked at it, the more I thought, no, it needs something. So I changed my mind. I added just some small stickers there in the middle, another arrow and a number, and bringing in some baker's twine too. Now, when I look at this page on its own like this, I do tend to think that the big card at the top and the wooden card in the middle, they feel a little bit separate from the rest of the page. But when I bring this page next to the layout that I've already shown you, I really like how they look across the two whole page spread. And I'm not really designing it as a two-page layout. You can see that I don't have the other layout set right next to it or anything. But it was just enough to put there on the outside edge that I knew that would bring it together across that whole 24 by 12 canvas. So I'm not too worried that those two blocks don't have the same sort of embellishment as everything else. Added a few little loops of the baker's twine there in the middle because I thought with the 3 horizontal labels, it all looked a little bit too static. So just added some movement by looping the twine around, and attached the twine with tiny little staples from the tiny attacher. And then decided that bottom corner needed something, so I grabbed a die cut that was just kind of in my die cut bowl. It wasn't kind of in the die cut bowl, it was in the die cut bowl. Now you can see why I don't normally do voiceovers. And it was the wrong color, so I've changed it from white to brown. Not that there was a lot of brown on this layout, but it just seemed a better color match. I thought if I made it more aqua, it was going to all be a little bit too much aqua, and I didn't think that I'd be able to get a really good color match to the aquas that were already on the layout. So brown is a little bit different, but it's quite neutral, and then added in the yellow baker's twine there to make it coordinate with what was already on the page. That's it for today, and I'll leave you with a link to the video with the page that goes opposite this in the album. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.